The rain had finally stopped by the time Maya Johnson pushed through the heavy glass doors of the Sterling room. She was running exactly 3 minutes late, which meant she had about 2 minutes to clock in, tie her apron, and get to the pre-shift meeting before Chef Antoine started his usual speech about punctuality being the foundation of fine dining. "You're cutting it close again," whispered Jennifer, one of the other servers, as Maya rushed past the host stand. "Traffic on the bridge was a nightmare," Maya replied, quickly pulling her dark hair into a neat bun. She didn't mention that she'd spent the last 4 hours at Mount Sinai Hospital, helping her mother with physical therapy exercises. She didn't talk about that at work. It was easier that way. The Sterling room wasn't just any restaurant. It was the kind of place where businessmen closed million-dollar deals over aged whiskey and $30 appetizers. The chandeliers probably cost more than Maya made in a year, and the wine list read like a European geography test. She'd been working there for 3 years now, and she knew the routine by heart. Smile, be invisible, make sure the water glasses never go empty, don't make eye contact unless spoken to. Tonight was different, though. The entire West Wing had been reserved for a private dinner party. Some big-shot CEO and his international business partners. The management had been buzzing about it all week, making sure every detail was perfect. They'd even brought in extra flowers and had the silverware polished twice. "Table 12 is yours tonight," the floor manager told Maya during the briefing. "VIP treatment all the way. The main guest is Maxwell Thornton. He owns Thornton Global Industries. You know, the tech manufacturing company? Just be professional and attentive. These people tip well if you don't mess up." Maya nodded. She'd served plenty of important people before. They were all the same, really. They wanted their food hot, their drinks cold, and their egos stroked. She could do that in her sleep. By 7:30, the private dining room was filling up. Maya did a final check of the table settings, making sure everything was positioned exactly right. The sounds of expensive laughter and clinking glasses drifted in from the bar area. She took a deep breath and smoothed down her black apron. Maxwell Thornton arrived fashionably late, which seemed to be his style. He was in his early 50s with silver hair that probably cost a fortune to maintain, and a suit that looked like it cost even more. He walked with the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. 3 other people followed behind him. 2 men and a woman, all dressed like they'd just stepped out of a business magazine. "Good evening." "Gentlemen, ma'am," Maya greeted them with her professional smile. "Welcome to the Sterling room. My name is Maya, and I'll be taking care of you this evening." Maxwell barely glanced at her as he settled into his chair. "We'll start with a bottle of the Chateau Margaux 2010. And bring some sparkling water. The Italian one, not the French." "Of course, sir. I'll have that right out for you." As Maya turned to leave, she heard them switch languages. They were speaking French now, rapid and casual. She caught bits and pieces as she walked away. Something about quarterly projections in a factory in Vietnam. One of the men made a joke, and they all laughed. Maxwell's laugh was the loudest. She'd heard French before. And German. And Mandarin, Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, and Russian. The Sterling room attracted an international crowd, and over the years Maya had picked up on the rhythm of different languages, even if she couldn't understand all of them. Or at least, that's what people assumed. When she returned with the wine, they were deep in conversation. Maxwell was explaining something about tariffs, gesturing with his hands. The woman across from him, who had a French accent when she spoke English, nodded along thoughtfully. "Your wine, Mr. Thornton," Maya said quietly, showing him the label. He waved his hand dismissively. Yes, that's fine. Just pour it." Maya went through the ritual of opening the bottle and pouring a small amount for him to taste. He barely sipped it before nodding. She filled the other glasses and stepped back, waiting to take their dinner orders. "So, about the contract," one of the men said in English, probably for courtesy since Maya was standing there. "We need to finalize the terms by Friday." "Don't worry about it," Maxwell said, switching back to French. "We'll discuss the real numbers after dinner. No need to talk business in front of the help." The others chuckled. Maya kept her face neutral and pulled out her notepad. "Are you ready to order, or would you like a few more minutes?" They ordered without looking at her. Steaks mostly, cooked rare. The French woman wanted the salmon. They added appetizers and sides, speaking over each other, barely pausing for Maya to write it all down. When she repeated the orders back to confirm, Maxwell waved her away mid-sentence. Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure the steaks are actually rare this time. Last place I went to, they burned everything. Absolutely, sir. I'll make sure the chef knows. As the evening went on, the wine flowed freely and Maxwell's voice got louder. He was clearly the center of attention at the table, telling stories about his business conquests, name-dropping CEOs and politicians. His companions laughed at all the right moments. Maya kept her distance, appearing only when needed. She brought their appetizers, refilled their glasses, cleared their plates. She was good at being invisible. It was part of the job, but Maxwell seemed determined to make her visible, at least as a target. When she brought the main courses, he interrupted his own story to comment. "You know what I love about places like this?" he said, loud enough for Maya to hear as she set down his plate. "The service workers really know their place. They're efficient. They don't try to be something they're not." Maya felt her jaw tighten, but she kept smiling. "Enjoy your meal, sir. See what I mean?" Maxwell continued, looking at his companions. "Professional, simple. They do their job and that's it. It's not like these kids today who think serving tables is beneath them while they wait for their big break in whatever." The Frenchwoman looked slightly uncomfortable, but she didn't say anything. One of the men nodded in agreement. Maya walked back to the kitchen, her hand steady even though something hot was building in her chest. It wasn't the first time someone had talked down to her. It probably wouldn't be the last. She'd learned to let it roll off her back. What choice did she have? "Table 12 being difficult?" Jennifer asked, noticing Maya's expression. "Nothing I can't handle," Maya replied, picking up a water pitcher. "Just the usual big ego, small consideration type." Back in the dining room, Maxwell and his group had switched to Mandarin Chinese now. Maya approached to refill water glasses, and she caught the tail end of their conversation. They were discussing a manufacturing contract, something about quality standards and delivery schedules. Maxwell seemed frustrated about a document he needed translated. "The translator app on my phone is useless for legal documents," he complained in English, pulling out his phone to show the others. "Look at this. Half of it doesn't make sense, and I need to understand this before the meeting tomorrow. Can't your assistant handle it?" the other man asked. "She's in London right now, different time zone. By the time she gets back to me, it'll be too late." Maxwell scrolled through the document on his phone, frowning. These clauses are critical. If we miss something, it could cost us millions. He set his phone down on the table with a heavy sigh, just as Maya reached over to fill his water glass. For a split second, her eyes caught the Chinese characters on his screen. She recognized it immediately. Legal terminology, standard contract language, penalty clauses for breach of agreement. Maxwell noticed her glance. His expression shifted, a smirk spreading across his face. "What, you can read Chinese now?" He picked up his phone and held it toward her mockingly. "Here, since you're looking. If you're so smart, then translate it." The table erupted in laughter. Maxwell was clearly pleased with his joke, leaning back in his chair with his arms crossed, waiting for her to walk away embarrassed. Maya stood there, the water pitcher still in her hand. She looked at the phone, then at Maxwell, then back at the phone. Every fiber of her being wanted to just turn around and walk away. That would be the smart thing. The safe thing: keep your head down, don't make waves, don't give them a reason to complain to management. But something in Maxwell's smirk, that absolute certainty that he was superior, that she was just a waitress who couldn't possibly understand his important business world, made something snap inside her. She set down the water pitcher carefully on the edge of the table. "Actually," she said quietly, her voice steady, "I can." The laughter died down. Maxwell's smirk faltered for just a second before returning, more patronizing now. "Oh, really? You can read Mandarin?" "Sure you can, sweetheart." "The document on your screen is a manufacturing agreement," Maya said, her tone professional but clear. Section 1 outlines the production timeline. 20,000 units per quarter with a quality assurance threshold of 99.2%. Section 2 covers material specifications. They're requiring grade A silicon components, not the cheaper alternatives. Maxwell's expression changed. The smirk disappeared. He looked down at his phone, then back up at Maya, his face paling slightly. Maya wasn't finished. She continued, her voice growing more confident. Section 3, the part you're worried about, details the penalty clauses. For every week of delayed shipment, the penalty is 30% of the total contract value. For quality control failures, they can void the entire agreement and demand full reimbursement of advance payments. The table was completely silent now. The Frenchwoman's eyes were wide. One of the men leaned forward, staring at Maya like he was seeing her for the first time. Maxwell opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked like someone had just pulled the ground out from under him. Your app probably struggled with the legal terminology, Maya added, reaching for the water pitcher again. Machine translation doesn't handle context well in Mandarin, especially with contractual language. The character for penalty can also mean fine or punishment depending on context, and the app likely mixed them up. That clause in section 3.2, it's not saying you'll be fined for late delivery. It's saying they can terminate the partnership and blacklist your company from future bids. She picked up the pitcher and topped off the remaining glasses, her movements calm and practiced. Will there be anything else? Maxwell just stared at her, his mouth slightly open. The Frenchwoman was the first to recover, leaning forward with sudden interest. Mademoiselle, where did you learn Mandarin? But Maya had already said more than she'd intended. She could feel her heart pounding, could feel the weight of the moment settling over the room. She'd just broken the cardinal rule of service work. Never outshine the customer. I hope you enjoy the rest of your meal, she said, giving them a polite nod before turning and walking away, leaving Maxwell Thornton sitting in stunned silence, his arrogance finally cracking. Maya's hands were shaking by the time she reached the kitchen. Not from fear, but from the adrenaline still coursing through her body. She'd just done something incredibly stupid, or incredibly brave. She wasn't sure which yet. Hey, you okay? Jennifer caught her arm as Maya walked past. You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine, Maya said, setting down the water pitcher and pressing her palms flat against the cool stainless steel counter. Just need a second. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. What had she been thinking? You don't embarrass customers. You don't show them up. You definitely don't prove them wrong in front of their business associates. That's not how this worked. She needed this job. Her mother needed this job. The health insurance alone was worth swallowing her pride for. Table 12 needs their check, the floor manager called out, holding up the leather billfold. Maya, that's your table. Of course it was. Maya straightened up, smoothed down her apron, and took the check. She'd have to face Maxwell Thornton again. Maybe he'd complain to management. Maybe he'd demand a different server. Maybe he'd just pretend nothing had happened and she'd get away with it. When she approached the table, the atmosphere had completely changed. The easy laughter from earlier was gone. Maxwell was quiet, staring at his phone with an expression she couldn't quite read. The Frenchwoman was watching Maya with open curiosity. The two men were having a hushed conversation in what sounded like German. Your check, Mr. Thornton, Maya said softly, placing it beside his empty wine glass. Maxwell looked up at her. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. Then slowly he asked, How did you do that? Sir? The translation. That was word perfect. Better than my assistant would have done. He paused, and something that might have been embarrassment flickered across his face. How did you learn Mandarin? Maya hesitated. Every instinct told her to deflect, to minimize, to get out of this conversation as quickly as possible. But the way he was looking at her now was different. The mockery was gone. He seemed genuinely curious. I studied linguistics in college, she said carefully. Mandarin was one of my focus areas. Linguistics, Maxwell repeated like he was testing the word. So you went to college. The way he said it made Maya's jaw tighten again. Like it was surprising. Like waitresses couldn't possibly have education. Yes, sir. I did. The Frenchwoman leaned forward. Forgive me for asking, but you mentioned Mandarin was one of your focus areas. How many languages do you speak? Maya shifted her weight. This was getting uncomfortable. A few? Could you be more specific? There was no good way out of this conversation now. 7 fluently. A few more conversationally. One of the men let out a low whistle. Maxwell just stared at her, his expression unreadable. The Frenchwoman smiled, but it wasn't condescending. It was impressed. That's extraordinary, she said. Which 7? Maya felt like she was being interviewed. English, Spanish, French, Mandarin, Arabic, Portuguese, and German. Mon Dieu, the Frenchwoman breathed. And you work here as a waitress? There it was. The question Maya had been dreading. The one that made her feel like she had to justify her entire life to strangers. She could feel her face getting hot. Yes, ma'am. I work here as a waitress. She kept her voice level, professional. Is there anything else I can get for you this evening? Maxwell was still looking at her like he was trying to solve a puzzle. That doesn't make sense. With those qualifications, you could be working for the UN or some international corporation. Why are you here? That's really not your business, Mr. Thornton. The words came out sharper than Maya intended. She immediately regretted it. You don't snap at customers, especially not customers who could get you fired with one phone call. But Maxwell didn't look angry. If anything, he looked ashamed. He glanced down at his phone, then back up at her. You're right. It's not. I apologize. That was inappropriate of me. Maya blinked. Was Maxwell Thornton actually apologizing to her? I also apologize for what I said earlier, he continued, his voice quieter now. The comments about service workers. That was... He paused, searching for the word. Ignorant. And cruel. You didn't deserve that. The French woman nodded in agreement. We all owe you an apology. We were speaking French earlier, assuming you wouldn't understand. We said some things that were disrespectful. Maya had understood every word of their French conversation. She'd just chosen not to react. That was the smart play. But now, standing here with all of them looking at her with something close to guilt, she didn't know what to say. I appreciate the apology, she finally managed, but I really do need to finish my shift. If you could just settle the check. Wait. Maxwell pulled out his wallet and extracted a business card. He held it out to her. I know you probably want to get away from us right now, and I don't blame you. But I'd like to talk to you about a job opportunity. Maya didn't take the card. I have a job, Mr. Thornton. I can see that. But with your skills, you could have a career. A real one. He set the card down on the table when she didn't reach for it. Just think about it, please. Maya looked at the card. Maxwell Thornton, Chief Executive Officer, Thornton Global Industries. A phone number. An email address. I'm not interested. Thank you anyway. She turned to leave, but the French woman spoke up. May I ask you something? And please, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. But someone with your education and abilities working in a restaurant, there must be a reason. A good reason. Maya stopped. She could feel tears threatening behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of these people. Everyone has their reasons for the choices they make. Mine are personal. Now, if you'll excuse me. This time she walked away before anyone could stop her. She went straight to the server station and busied herself rolling silverware, even though her tables were all taken care of. Her hands were shaking again. Jennifer appeared beside her. What happened out there? That table has been asking about you. Nothing. Just take them their change when they're ready. Maya, the manager wants to see you. He said the customer from table 12 asked to speak with him. Maya's stomach dropped. This was it. She was getting fired. Maxwell had complained after all. She should have just kept her mouth shut, should have laughed off his mockery and collected her tip like always. She found the floor manager near the host stand, and to her surprise, he was smiling. Maya, Mr. Thornton wanted me to know what an excellent server you were tonight. He was very impressed with your professionalism. Maya couldn't hide her shock. What? He left this for you. The manager handed her an envelope. Said you earned it. Maya opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was $500 cash and Maxwell's business card with a handwritten note on the back. I was wrong about you. Please call me MT. $500. That was more than she made in a week. She stared at the money, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and anger. Was this supposed to make up for humiliating her? Was this guilt money? That's quite a tip, the manager said. Whatever you did, keep doing it. We need more customers like that. Maya folded the envelope and tucked it into her apron pocket. She didn't know what to think. Part of her wanted to tear up the money and the business card. But $500 meant she could buy her mother that new wheelchair cushion she needed. It meant an extra physical therapy session. It meant groceries for the next 2 weeks without having to choose between bills. Pride was expensive. Sometimes you couldn't afford it. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. She served her other tables on autopilot, smiling and nodding and bringing food and drinks without really being present. Her mind kept drifting back to table 12, to the look on Maxwell's face when she'd translated his document, to the unexpected apology. By the time she clocked out at 11, she was exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally drained. She changed out of her uniform in the staff room, pulled on her jacket, and headed out into the cool night air. The subway ride home was quiet. Maya sat in the corner seat watching the dark tunnel walls flash past the window, She pulled out Maxwell's business card and stared at it. What kind of job was he offering? And why did he care? Rich men didn't usually go out of their way for waitresses they'd insulted, no matter how many languages they spoke. She should throw the card away. Forget this whole night ever happened. Go back to her routine. Hospital in the morning, work in the evening, stolen hours for her research in between. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. It was safe. But something made her slip the card back into her pocket instead of tossing it in the trash. When she got home to her small apartment in Queens, it was almost midnight. She kicked off her shoes and went straight to her laptop. She shouldn't do this. She knew she shouldn't. But curiosity got the better of her. She typed Maxwell Thornton into the search bar. Pages of results came up. Articles about his company's latest acquisitions. Interviews in business magazines. Photos of him at charity galas and industry conferences. He was exactly what he appeared to be. Rich, successful, powerful. The kind of man who was used to getting what he wanted. But as Maya dug deeper, she found something interesting. 3 years ago, Thornton Global had been sued by a factory in Bangladesh for violating labor agreements. The case had been settled quietly, but the details that leaked suggested the company had promised certain working conditions and then failed to deliver. There were other complaints too, buried in business journals and trade publications. Stories of contracts broken, partners left hanging, small suppliers pushed around. Maxwell Thornton was a shark, and sharks didn't suddenly become generous without a reason. Maya closed her laptop and got ready for bed, but sleep didn't come easily. She kept thinking about the way Maxwell had looked at her, that mixture of shock and shame. Was it real, or was it just another game, another way for him to feel good about himself? At 3 a.m, she gave up on sleep and went to her desk. She pulled out her current project, a research paper on endangered indigenous languages in the Amazon. This was what she was supposed to be doing with her linguistics degree. This was meaningful work. But it didn't pay the bills. Her phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. Her mother had woken up asking for her. Maya grabbed her keys and headed back out into the night, Maxwell Thornton's business card still sitting in her jacket pocket. As she rode the subway back to Manhattan, she made a decision. She'd call him. Not because she wanted his job or his money or his approval, but because she wanted to look him in the eye one more time and understand what he really wanted. She'd spent 3 years being invisible, letting people like him look right through her. Maybe it was time to remind herself that she was more than just a waitress with a tray. Maybe it was time to remind him too. The card felt heavy in her pocket, like a promise or a threat. Maya wasn't sure which yet. But by the time the train pulled into her stop, she knew she was going to find out. Maya sat in her mother's hospital room, watching the early morning light filter through the blinds. Her mother was sleeping peacefully now, her breathing steady and even. The nurse had said she'd just had a restless night, nothing serious. But Maya's heart still hadn't stopped racing from the panic of that 3 a.m. text. She pulled out Maxwell Thornton's business card again. It was getting worn at the edges from all the times she'd taken it out of her pocket over the past 2 days. She still hadn't called. Every time she picked up her phone, something stopped her. Pride maybe, or fear, or just the knowledge that once she made that call, something would change and she wasn't sure she was ready for change. When did you get so afraid? Her mother's voice made Maya jump. Mom, you're awake. How are you feeling? Better than you look. Her mother shifted in the bed, wincing slightly. Even after months of recovery, simple movements still caused pain. You've been staring at that card for 5 minutes. Either call the number or throw it away. Maya smiled despite herself. It's complicated. Everything's complicated when you're scared. Her mother reached for the cup of water on the bedside table and Maya quickly handed it to her. What's on the card? Just a job offer. Probably nothing. A job offer that has you this twisted up is definitely something. Her mother took a sip and fixed Maya with that look, the one that said she could see right through any excuse. Tell me, so Maya did. She told her about Maxwell Thornton, about the humiliation at the restaurant, about the translation and the apology and the $500 tip. Her mother listened quietly, the way she always did, letting Maya get it all out. So this man embarrassed you, then felt guilty and offered you a job, her mother summarized. And you don't trust it, would you? No, but I also wouldn't let pride stop me from at least finding out what he wants. Her mother set down the water cup. Baby, you've put your life on hold for me, I see it. I know you left your career, your research, everything you worked for. And I'm grateful, but I don't want you to wake up in 5 years and resent me for it. I could never resent you, Mom. Maybe not, but you might resent yourself for not taking chances when they came. She reached for Maya's hand. Call him. Hear what he has to say. If it's garbage, you hang up. If it's real, you consider it. Either way, you'll know. Maya looked down at their joined hands. Her mother's grip was stronger than it had been 6 months ago. The physical therapy was working. The doctor said she might be able to come home soon, maybe even walk with a cane. Things were getting better. Maybe it was okay to want more than just survival. Okay, Maya said quietly. I'll call. She waited until she got home, until she'd showered and changed and made herself a cup of coffee. Then she sat on her small couch and dialed the number before she could change her mind. It rang twice. Maxwell Thornton's office. Maya almost hung up. Yes. This is Maya Johnson. Mr. Thornton asked me to call. Oh, Miss Johnson. Yes, he's been expecting your call. Please hold. The hold music was classical, something by Mozart maybe. Maya's leg bounced nervously. This was stupid. She should just hang up now before… Maya, thank you for calling. Maxwell's voice was warm but professional. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, she admitted. I'm still not sure why I am. Fair enough. I wouldn't trust me either if I were in your position. He paused. Would you be willing to meet in person? I'd like to discuss something with you, but I'd rather do it face to face. I owe you that much at least. Mr. Thornton. Maxwell, please. Maxwell, Maya corrected, the name feeling strange on her tongue. I appreciate the apology you gave at the restaurant. I really do, but I'm not looking to change jobs right now. My situation is complicated. I understand, but I'm not asking you to make any decisions. Just give me an hour of your time. If you're not interested after that, I'll never bother you again. I'll even pay you for your time. Consider it a consultation. Maya almost laughed. You want to pay me to have a meeting with you? I wasted your time the other night with my arrogance. It seems only fair. His tone was sincere without a trace of the condescension from before. Please, 1 hour. You pick the place. Against her better judgment, Maya agreed. They settled on a coffee shop near Columbia University, neutral ground where Maya felt comfortable. The next afternoon, she found herself sitting at a corner table, nursing a latte and wondering what she was doing. Maxwell arrived exactly on time, which surprised her. Rich people were usually late. He was dressed more casually today, khakis and a button-down shirt instead of a suit. He looked almost normal if you ignored the watch that probably cost more than her car. Thank you for meeting me, he said, sitting down across from her. He'd brought his own coffee. I know you didn't have to. You were very persistent, Maya said. And honestly, I was curious. I'll take that. He wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. I've been doing a lot of thinking since that night at the restaurant. About the things I said, the assumptions I made. I was raised to believe that success looked a certain way, and anyone who didn't fit that picture was somehow less than. It's taken me 53 years to realize how wrong that is. Maya didn't say anything. She wanted to hear where this was going. I looked you up, Maxwell continued. I hope that's not too invasive, but I needed to understand who you really were. Dr. Maya Johnson, PhD in International Linguistics from Columbia, published researcher. You worked with the United Nations on language preservation projects. You were on track to become one of the leading experts in your field. Maya felt her chest tighten. That was a long time ago, 2 years. You left right in the middle of a major research project. He leaned forward slightly. I'm not trying to pry into your personal life, but I need you to understand that I know you're not just a waitress. You're someone extraordinary who happens to be working as a waitress. There's a difference, is there? Maya asked. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm just a waitress. That's what pays my bills. That's what I am right now. No, that's what you do. It's not who you are. Maxwell set down his coffee. I run a global company, Maya. We do business in 47 countries. And every single day we mess up. We offend partners because we don't understand their culture. We lose deals because of translation errors. We hurt people because we're ignorant, just like I was ignorant the other night. And you think I can fix that? I think you could help. I want to create a new position in my company, Director of International Relations and Cultural Advisory, someone who can help us navigate cultural differences, Handle complex translations, train our executives to be less. He gestured at himself. Like me. Maya blinked. You want me to teach your executives not to be jerks? Maxwell actually laughed. When you put it that way, yes, essentially. That's not a real job. It is if I say it is. I own the company. He pulled out a folder from his bag and slid it across the table. This is a job description I had drawn up. I want you to look it over. No pressure, no obligation. Just look. Maya opened the folder cautiously. Inside was a detailed job description, complete with responsibilities, benefits, and salary. When she saw the salary number, she nearly choked on her coffee. It was 3 times what she made at the restaurant. The benefits package included full medical coverage for family members. This is too much, she said quietly. It's market rate for someone with your qualifications. Actually, it might be a little low. Maxwell leaned back in his chair. Look, I know you don't trust me. You shouldn't. I'm the guy who mocked you in front of his colleagues. But here's the truth, my company needs help. Real help. And you're the most qualified person I've ever met for this job. You don't even know me. I know you speak 7 languages fluently. I know you have a doctorate from one of the best universities in the world. I know you stayed calm and professional when I was being an ass to you. I know you care enough about something or someone to put your career on hold and work a job you're overqualified for. He paused. I also did some more digging. Your mother is at Mount Sinai. She had a stroke 2 years ago. Maya's jaw clenched. That's private, I know, and I apologize for invading your privacy. But I needed to understand why someone like you would be working at a restaurant, and now I do. He pushed the folder closer to her. This job comes with flexible hours. You could work from home when you need to. You could visit your mother whenever you want. And the health insurance covers full-time care if she needs it. Maya felt tears prickling her eyes. Why are you doing this? Honestly? Part of it is guilt. I treated you terribly and I want to make it right. He met her eyes. But mostly, it's because I think you're exactly what my company needs. We've been doing things the same way for 30 years and it's not working anymore. The world is changing. We need people who understand that. We need people like you. Maya looked down at the folder in her hands. It felt heavy with possibility, with hope, with risk. I need time to think about this, she said finally. Of course. Take all the time you need. Maxwell stood up. I put my direct number in there. Call me when you're ready, even if it's just to tell me no. He started to leave, then turned back. Maya, for what it's worth, I really am sorry. Not just for what I said at the restaurant, but for the assumptions I made. You deserve better than that. Everyone does. After he left, Maya sat there for a long time, staring at the folder. Other coffee shop customers came and went around her, lost in their own worlds, their own problems. She thought about her mother lying in that hospital bed, urging her to take chances. She thought about her research gathering dust on her laptop. She thought about rolling silverware for the rest of her life. Then she thought about the look on Maxwell's face when she'd translated his document. That moment of pure shock when he realized he'd been wrong about her. There was power in that moment. Power in being seen, really seen, for who she actually was. She pulled out her phone and opened her email. She had a message from her old advisor at Columbia, forwarding an article about indigenous language research. Miss having you around, Maya. Hope you're doing well. She typed out a quick response. Doing okay. Might have some news soon. I'll keep you posted. Then she picked up the folder, finished her coffee, and headed home. She had a lot to think about. And maybe for the first time in 2 years, she had something to hope for, too. Maya kept the folder on her kitchen table for 3 days. Every time she walked past it, she'd stop and stare, sometimes opening it to reread the job description, sometimes just leaving it closed like it might bite her if she looked too long. On the 4th day, she brought it to work. What's that? Jennifer asked during their shift break, nodding at the folder Maya had tucked into her locker. Nothing. Just something I'm thinking about. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. Must be some important nothing if you're bringing it to work. Maya grabbed her apron, tying it around her waist. It's a job offer. From that guy the other night? The CEO— Wait, what? Jennifer nearly dropped her water bottle. The guy who was being a total jerk to you? He offered you a job? Yeah, weird, right? Weird doesn't even cover it. What kind of job? Maya hesitated. She hadn't talked to anyone about this except her mother. Saying it out loud would make it real somehow. Director of International Relations. It's basically helping his company not mess up when they work with people from other countries. Jennifer let out a low whistle. That sounds fancy, and probably pays way better than this place, than 3 times better. 3 times? Jennifer's eyes went wide. Maya, why are you even still here? Why haven't you taken it? That was the question, wasn't it? Maya had been asking herself the same thing for days. Because I don't know if I can trust him. What if this is just some guilt thing? What if he gets tired of feeling bad about what he said and then I'm out of a job? Or, Jennifer said slowly, what if it's real? What if this is your chance to get back to doing what you actually went to school for? Maya didn't have an answer for that. The dinner rush that night was brutal. A birthday party of 15 showed up without a reservation. 2 tables sent their steaks back because they weren't cooked right. And someone's kid knocked over an entire bottle of red wine. By the time Maya got home at midnight, she was exhausted and her feet were killing her. She kicked off her shoes, collapsed on the couch, and pulled out her phone. Without thinking too much about it, she opened her email and started typing. Dear Maxwell, I've been thinking about your offer. I have some questions. Can we talk? She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she sat there, staring at her phone like an idiot, wondering if he'd even see the email this late at night. Her phone rang 30 seconds later. That was fast, Maya said, answering it. I've been waiting for you to reach out. Maxwell's voice came through, and he sounded almost relieved. I was starting to think you'd decided I was crazy. I'm still not sure you're not crazy. Who creates an entire job position for someone they met once? Someone who knows talent when he sees it, even if he was too stubborn to recognize it at first. She could hear him moving around on the other end, papers shuffling. You said you have questions. I'm listening. Maya took a breath. Why me, really? I know you said all that stuff about my qualifications, but there are probably 100 people with linguistics degrees who could do this job. Why go through all this trouble? Maxwell was quiet for a moment. Honest answer? Because of how you handled yourself that night. You could have made a scene. You could have embarrassed me even more than you did, but you didn't. You translated my document, made your point, and walked away with dignity. That's the kind of person I want representing my company. I was just trying not to get fired. Maybe. But you also showed me something I'd been missing. I've built this company by being aggressive, by pushing people around when I needed to, and it's worked financially. But it's also cost me. Partners who won't work with us anymore. Deals that fell apart because we offended someone. I'm tired of winning by being the loudest voice in the room. He paused. I want to win by being better. And I can't do that without people who understand what better actually means. Maya found herself nodding, even though he couldn't see her. Okay, second question. What happens if this doesn't work out? I'd be leaving a stable job. I can't afford to take a risk that blows up in my face. Fair question. The contract includes a 6-month guarantee. Even if we both decide this isn't working, you get 6 months of full salary and benefits. No questions asked. After that, if either of us wants to end the arrangement, there's a 30-day notice period and a severance package worth 3 months' pay. He rattled off the details like he'd already thought this through. I want you to feel secure in this decision, Maya. I'm not trying to trap you or take advantage. I'm trying to build something better. And the flexible hours thing, that's real? Because I need to be able to see my mother. She's my priority. Completely real. You set your own schedule as long as the work gets done. Need to take a morning for a doctor's appointment? Do it. Need to work from the hospital? Do it. I'm not interested in micromanaging your time. I'm interested in results. Maya felt something loosening in her chest, some tight knot she'd been carrying for 2 years. Last question. What if I'm not good at this? What if I take this job and I fail? Then we figure it out together. But Maya? His voice softened. I don't think you're capable of failing. I've seen what you can do under pressure, and it was remarkable. I'm not worried about whether you can do this job. I'm only worried about whether I can convince you to try. After they hung up, Maya sat in the dark for a long time. She thought about her mother's words. She thought about Jennifer's excitement. She thought about rolling silverware and clearing plates and smiling at people who barely saw her as human. Then she thought about her doctoral dissertation, still unfinished, about the indigenous languages she'd been documenting before everything fell apart. She thought about making a real difference, about using the skills she'd spent years developing. At 2 a.m, she opened her laptop and started researching Thornton Global Industries. Not just the surface stuff, but the deep information. Financial reports, employee reviews, news articles from the last decade. She needed to know what she was getting into. What she found was complicated. The company had its problems, definitely. There were old lawsuits, complaints about aggressive business tactics, reviews from former employees who said the culture was cutthroat. But there were also recent changes, new HR policies, diversity initiatives that actually seemed serious, an ethics board that had been formed last year. It looked like Maxwell hadn't been lying about wanting to do things differently. She found an article from 6 months ago, an interview with Maxwell in a business magazine. The interviewer had asked him about his leadership style, and he'd said something that stuck with her. "I'm good at making money, but I'm not sure I've been good at making a difference. I want the second half of my career to be about more than just profit margins. Maybe people really could change. Maybe Maxwell Thornton was actually serious about this." Maya closed her laptop and went to bed, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. She dreamed about standing in front of a boardroom full of executives, speaking 5 different languages, commanding respect. She dreamed about her mother walking again, stronger and healthier. She dreamed about finishing her dissertation, publishing her research, making her mark on the world. When she woke up the next morning, she knew what she had to do. She called Maxwell at 9 a.m. "I want to accept the position, but I have conditions. I'm listening. I want it in writing that my schedule is flexible. I want to be able to work remotely when I need to. And I want regular check-ins, not just when there's a problem. If this is going to work, we need to communicate. Done, done, and done. Anything else?" Maya smiled. "Yeah, I want to start slow. Give me a month to transition out of the restaurant. Get my mother settled with her new care routine. I don't want to just abandon people. That says a lot about you. A month is fine." She could hear the smile in his voice, too. "Welcome to Thornton Global, Maya. I promise you won't regret this." After she hung up, Maya sat there for a moment, letting it sink in. She'd just changed her entire life with one phone call. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. She called the restaurant and asked to speak with the manager. "I need to give my notice. I got another job offer." There was a pause. "We're sorry to lose you, Maya. You've been one of our best servers. When's your last day?" "A month from now. I want to help train someone to cover my sections." That night, Maya went to the hospital and told her mother everything. Her mom cried, but they were happy tears. "I'm so proud of you, baby. You're finally taking care of yourself." "I'm still taking care of you too," Maya said firmly. "That doesn't change." "I know. But now you get to take care of both of us. That's how it should be." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Maya went to Thornton Global's headquarters to sign paperwork, meet the HR team, and tour the office. The building was enormous, all glass and steel and modern art. Her office was on the 15th floor with a view of the city. It felt surreal. She met the other executives, and while some of them seemed skeptical about her position, most were welcoming. The French woman from the restaurant, whose name was Claudette, actually worked there too. She was the VP of European Operations. "I'm glad Maxwell convinced you to join us," Claudette said warmly. "We need fresh perspectives here. Too many of us have been doing things the same way for too long." On Maya's last night at the restaurant, the staff threw her a small party during their shift break. Jennifer brought a cake and everyone signed a card. "We're going to miss you," Jennifer said, hugging her tight. "But I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. I'm going to miss you too, all of you." And Maya meant it. The restaurant had been her safe place for 2 years, the thing that kept her grounded when everything else felt like it was falling apart. But it was time to move forward. Time to remember who she used to be and who she could still become. On her first official day at Thornton Global, Maya wore a business suit that her mother had insisted on buying her. She felt like an imposter as she rode the elevator up to the 15th floor, her heart pounding. Maxwell met her at her office door. "Ready?" Maya took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." "Good, because we have a lot of work to do." He gestured to her desk, where a stack of files waited. "These are all the international contracts we're currently negotiating. I need you to review them and tell me where we're making mistakes." Maya sat down and opened the first file. It was in Japanese. She smiled. This she could do. This was what she'd trained for, what she was good at. "Maxwell," she said, looking up. "Yeah? Thank you. For seeing me." "Really seeing me?" He nodded. "Thank you for giving me a chance to be better. Now let's get to work." And for the first time in 2 years, Maya felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be.